It's DisneyCember 2022, and as you probably know, every year I try to add a new subject or genre or studio or just something new every year to keep things lively. And oh boy, do I have something amazing this year. It turns out Disney also bought Blue Sky Studios. Blue Sky, you know, the studio that made Ice Age and Ice Age 2 and they made quite a few Ice Ages. But you know, come on, Rio! Did they make a Rio 2? Up there it is! Okay, as you probably guessed, I wasn't very excited to do Blue Sky Studios for DisneyCember, so how about Marvel and Star Wars games as well? Does that work? I started doing Disney games last year, so if I work this in, that's something else, right? Okay, something else. Let's say if there's a movie I already reviewed, like for Untitled Review Show or something, this time I'll go into spoilers. Yeah, everybody always wants to know my thoughts, and I don't want to give it away, so on these I will give it away, if it's one I've already reviewed. Okay, look, it's the best I could come up with. Yes, Disney is usually very good at buying everything, but I came up a little short, so this is the best I could do. But with that said, I actually am kind of looking forward to this. There's a lot of great Marvel and Star Wars games out there from what I hear, and you might be shocked to know I have never seen an Ice Age movie. I almost took it as a badge of honor, but now DisneyCember is going to ruin that for me. But who knows? Maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll...
Check for poop.
All right, look out, look out.
Whoa!
There sure is a lot of other stuff I'm reviewing, huh? I mean, let's face it, like every year, Disney always has a lot of stuff coming out, with them acquiring more studios and properties and franchises. So as always, I'm gonna be looking over new stuff, old stuff, movies, games, TV shows, the works. This is DisneyCember 2022, the Blue Sky Marvel Star Wars games 2 for 1 at a coupon. Let's begin with 2018's Spider-Man. This is another one of those really big games that I never did get around to. I remember everybody talking about it, saying how amazing it was, the graphics, the story, the gameplay. I mean, how many awards did it win? How many glowing reviews are out there? And sorry not to add much that different, but I loved it too. I know a lot of people think I don't like some of the original Spider-Man movies, which isn't true, I do. They were just different from what I was expecting. But when you ask me, what do I think Spider-Man is? Outside of the comics, how would you represent him? Spider-Verse, No Way Home, and this game are what comes to mind. The energy, spectacle, emotion, comedy, and surprisingly heart-wrenching drama are all there. But on top of that, it's also super fun to play and is probably the closest you'll ever feel to swinging around like Spider-Man. Yet. There's a few VR games out there, man, that are pretty close too. The story, I guess, is kinda halfway through what you know about Spider-Man. That is to say, he's bitten by the spider, he's in a relationship, on again, off again with Mary Jane. He's still helping out Aunt May, taking down villains like the Kingpin and Scorpion, and even Black Cat makes an appearance here and there. But there's also things that haven't developed yet. For example, Miles Morales is in this, and yeah, he doesn't have a spider suit or any powers yet. I was shocked both Norman and Harry Osborn are in this, and not one goblin is seen throughout the entire thing. But the one that probably gets the most focus is your connection with your mentor, Dr. Octavius. I don't think it's a spoiler to say the invention he's working on is a bunch of robotic arms and things are gonna go south at one point. But I was really impressed with how well they constructed the friendship between these two. Octavius isn't just doing this for science, he's doing it to save his own body, as he has this disease that the arms could almost help serve as a second body. Like in Spider-Man 2 though, you know something's gonna warp his mind, and I will say, I think it's done a lot better here. I like it in Spider-Man 2, and I love what they do with it, again, especially with that style. But I really do feel for this guy. You just understand him getting more and more anxious and racing against the clock. And when the inevitable turn does happen, it is really tragic. Well, yes, some of the story elements you can see coming from a mile away.
You save Spider-Man, I'm pretty sure that makes you an official superhero.
Maybe I'm just a guy who doesn't give up.
Oh, he's so dead. Most of them are done so well, it doesn't matter if you can see it coming. If anything, it kind of adds to the sadness. You don't want to see bad things happen to these characters. But make no mistake, there's a lot of Spider-Manning in this game too. You can either go stop supervillains, or you can just help a guy collect a bunch of pigeons he lost. Yeah, that's a side mission.
Set all my birds loose.
How about I keep an eye out for him?
What?
These pigeon missions.
Best Spider-Man game ever! In fact, there's a ton of side missions. Some were very small, some were very big, some were pretty easy, others were a real pain in the but I always wanted to play them through for one reason or another, and I think that's really important. There was a part of me that kind of felt bummed knowing I wasn't going to be able to finish all these side missions. In fact, one of my complaints early on was I thought the game was going to be too short. When we got to the beginning of, say, the last third, I thought it was the halfway point. And then I was told, oh yeah, you're getting close to the final boss, and I was like, already? So much is going on in this game, and so many characters you do get wrapped up in, you're kind of shocked when you find, oh, that is meant for another game, or that was something for another side mission. But when you do get to the end, I was shocked how emotionally involved I was. Like, these are some powerhouse moments. Without going into spoilers, somehow this game plays almost the exact same scene twice back to back. Peter is talking to someone who's lying down. They reveal a secret that, yeah, we kind of already figured out they knew. And he has to make a difficult choice that's going to separate him from that person he cares about. Literally, back to back, they do the same thing just with different characters, and amazingly, I got choked up with both of them. I guess because the differences between the two scenes and what they were building up to was just so well constructed. In terms of gameplay, it does start off a little tricky, but I think a lot of people know going into a Spider-Man game that's gonna be part of it. I remember just the opening training mission was difficult. I had to fight the Kingpin like several times, and that was just the beginning. But not only was it really fun, I like these training missions where it actually is a part of the story. But they're very clever at having these in-between scenes where you just swing around New York to go to the next mission. While you're doing that, you can experiment with the buttons and even sometimes fight crimes on the way there. And you know the drill, you can use that to build up experience points and skill points and get new costumes and weapons. Which yes, I did try to pick the most embarrassing costumes just to make the dramatic scenes funny.
I love how much you're enjoying yourself.
Just that close-up, because I'm just imagining someone planning this out and being like, all right, then we need a close-up of the paper bag here. And to say there's a lot to explore is an understatement. It goes without saying not all of New York City is in this, but they went out of their way to try to get as much as they could in there. I guess they went and actually tried to get street names and layouts and stuff like that. It was also pretty good at mixing things up. I love when I go to the lab and I had to work on one of these little puzzles. They were just the right amount of difficulty where I say, okay, I feel like an accomplishment getting through this, but it's also not insultingly easy where I say, why the am I even doing this? Let's get back to the game. I guess a lot of people had issues with the Mary Jane, Miles Morales portions of the game, particularly the Mary Jane one because there's a lot more of them. The first mission you have to go on with her is not that exciting, it's really dull, and it got annoying just how precise some of these elements had to be. Also, I don't know if it happened in the comics or whatever, but something about making her a reporter just seemed a little... We got April, we got Lois, it's just such a common trope. I know, yeah, it's a superhero story, these kind of tropes are done all the time, but something about her being a snooping reporter just feels too done to me. I don't know, it's probably a nitpick. With that said though, every time it cut back to her, I always kind of went, oh man, a Mary Jane level, but they always added something to it. In one level, you gotta distract the guards. Okay, that's something new. In another level, you gotta mark guards for Spider-Man to beat up. Okay, that's kind of fun. As soon as it got to her carrying a taser, I was actually having a pretty good time. And though there's not as many of them, the Miles Morales levels are kind of like that too. Yes, there's a lot of crouching and sneaking, but there is a sense the story's moving forward. There's an urgency to it, an importance to it. Anyone who's played this game also knows the voice acting is phenomenal. Again, without going to spoilers, I was really getting choked up at some scenes. I really love it when you're swinging around as Spider-Man, somebody's talking to him on the phone, and just the inflections from their voice gives you an idea of what they're emotionally going through. I guess they apparently also did 2 takes for the lines with Spider-Man, one where he's just on a building breathing normally, and then another when he's swinging around like he's out of breath. That is a crazy level of detail. Well, yes, there's some things you can nitpick, like when they repeat a character model or something like that, something most games nowadays can't help. I was still blown away with how much love and dedication they put into this. It not only made for a great Spider-Man game, it made for a great Spider-Man story. There were moments when I'd be reading information and go, oh no. Even though you knew where large chunks of it were going, there were still plenty of surprises to keep you really engaged. So yeah, I can't think of much else to say about it except it's great. All the hype you've heard about it is correct. If you start off playing and saying, yeah, it's good, but I don't get what all the fuss is about, keep going. As the story and characters continue, you'll figure out more and more why people are really, really into this. And it probably is the closest I've gotten to feeling like I've played a Spider-Man movie. Like, All the cool fights aren't just cutscenes. You really feel like you're fighting these supervillains and sometimes will move your head out of the way because it can get so intense. Even the music is phenomenal. Every single time I go into the title screen and I hear that theme, I got chills for how good it was. You know how a lot of people say the Ghostbusters game is kind of like the unofficial Ghostbusters 3? I almost consider this an unofficial Spider-Man movie. It gets that good. If you've already played it, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, definitely web your way in and see what you're missing.